Hey fellas, it's that time again to look at a film to commemorate a milestone, but this one is quite different. And let's open. This film was seen as infamous flop at the time, has reputation as one today, but is reputation warranted? Let's open up my next subject and find out in my look at 1995's Waterworld in honor of its 25th anniversary. This film, initially beginning life as an ocean-themed mockbuster of the Mad Max franchise written by Peter Ratter and David Twohy, became infamous at the time release for going over budget to a then record $175 million. Common figure today, but massive in 1995. It's particularly telling that the Hawaii filming location was being hit by a hurricane was only the start of this one's production troubles, so let's get started. The premise of this film takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where the landmass has been lost to the ocean from the polar ice caps melting, hence the title and universal vanity plate showing as such. The film follows Lee not only as the mariner, played by Kevin Costner. The film definitely shows a clear disconnect in his character. Costner wanted him to be more solitary and loner, where director Kevin Reynolds wanted him to be more roguish and heroic. The result is somewhere between, much like the opening scene where he makes his urine shine between waste and potable water. As Mariner fishes a pair of hoods from the water, I will say I do like a lot of practical effects work in this film. Examples include these floating cities known as atolls and his boat, the trimaran. Another good aspect is the music by James Newton Howard, especially in these encounters with drifters known as smokers. One of them is even played by Jack Black, but I wonder who he was. This opening chase of smokers is actually pretty impressive at the time, especially with the chase between the trimaran and their jet skis. Mariner reaches the atoll and has come to trade with a jar of soil recovered from the aforementioned chase. Another thing that's kind of interesting is when someone dies in this world, since no land to bury them, the burial at sea is in a pool of brine. The dirt is also currency, it's basically the opposite of the Doomverse. The pure water is also called hydro, as pointed out by the hydroholic, played by Robert Silverman. Marin also meets Helen, played by Jean Triplehorn, and her adopted daughter Enola, played by Tina Majorino. See what they did there? It also turns out that Marin has webbed feet and gills, as shown by this fight in the atoll. That's an interesting audition tape for Aquaman. We're then introduced to Old Gregor, a tinkerer played by late Michael Jeter. Enola also has a tattoo on her back, which may be a key to finding land, now that the fate is a legend of myth. The next morning, as Mariner is set to be recycled in the brine pool, the atoll is tapped by the smokers. They are led by the Deacon, played by Dennis Hopper. The man is fantastic at playing villains, and this is no exception. He's the actor that's most self-aware of how ridiculous the film is, and is definitely having the best performance in the film. Once again, I do like the designs of a lot of transports, Old Gregor's airship and Deacon's barge in the scene. So, Helen and Enola form a reluctant alliance with the Mariner to escape. Turns out the atoll is a whole city of boats. Imagine that. I'll also note that cinematography by veteran cameraman Dean Semler has also held up better than I expected. It also turns out it's the same person filming Warrior. Who'd have thunk it? The chase continues outside the atoll as Mariner hooks Charles a gunner, destroying Deacon's barge as Deacon dives away just in time. Deacon demands to know about Enola, but when they don't yield, the now one-eyed Deacon finishes off the distance of the atoll. Elsewhere, Helen is still trying to convince Mariner to help her Enola with mixed success. Not even disrobing as an enticement to the Mariner. So, Dryland is basically this movie's equivalent to the Green Place in the Mad Max films. Back with the Deacon, he drives an old car to the pit, tossing cigarettes to his shipmates to the vessel's oil and fuel. Remember that, it'll be important later. I also love the rockabilly version of Peter Gunn music playing in the scene. Makes me want to play more Spy Hunter. Also notice how Smoker has double meaning here. Back with the Mariner, he isn't a big fan of Nola's decoration of his ship. She tossed open his wheels so she can't swim in this world. As Tony Stark said, not a great plan. Then ambushed by the aforementioned Jet Black pilot, and Mariner nails his gunner air played by John Tolles Bay. After that skirmish, Mariner then gives Helen and Nola haircuts. Personally, once I could do myself with my bangs and sideburns, I was almost looking like a 90s sitcom, extra otherwise. As Helen demands, "Food!" Her delivery, not mine. The next trader Mariner encounters reminds me of Beetle from Wind Waker. I'd also like to share this fun fact. Apparently production was built by Kahuna Priest for a good omen. Given how the production went, I'm pretty sure it didn't take. After the trader tries to double-cross them, Mariner takes him out and raises his barge while going for fish. Though with the CG fish he catches is kind of cringe, we think they don't see much of it before Mariner explodes it and they're grilling it. I'll make do what we can. Mariner reluctantly agrees to teach Nola how to swim, leading to one of the more memorable parts of the film, the dive sequence. That and then to trap of the smokers. The ensuing action scene may be a bit over the top, but at least it's better than that terrible Virtual Boy tie-in. Even factoring the same console was made at the time, not exactly exploring Lumia City in 3D. As James suggested, it was basically a poor man's Defender. This is the second dive sequence Mariner takes Helen to see the ruins of the land underwater. It's also pretty incredible for the time. Shooting these dives is also no picnic. In fact, the war sequence has rival trolls faced on Jaws 2 decades prior, which I covered earlier this month. Enola is captured by the Deacon, who then wrecks the trimaran by setting it on fire. Mariner and Helen narrowly escaping underwater below deck. Mariner then nonchalantly remarks, "My boat." Again, I'm under Willy Wonka. Stop. Don't. Come back. After a brief bit of near-death coitus, Mariner decides to confront the Deacon after he and Helen regroup with the old Gregor. Even with Enola trying to be as hype, in hindsight it's coming off like someone's Minecraft Let's Play. Campy dialogue aside, the final action scene on the Deacon's ship is actually pretty impressive. This part was filmed back on the mainland, by which point Reynolds was off the project and the remainder of the film was ghost-directed by Costner. The early CG and large-scale practical effects are hard to remark pretty well. A plane crash and the barge even inspired the Universal Park stunt shows are the most successful thing related to this film. Mary then pulls a flare, threatening to light the ship on fire. Now Deacon thinks he's bluffing. Mariner tosses the flare into the ship, setting the oil ablaze and limiting the smokers to only Deacon remains. Deacon tries to get away in a plane, but Mariner rescues her as the ship goes down, revealed to be the infamous Exxon Valdez. Those too young are just not aware. It's like that generation's Deepwater Horizon. Make your own assumptions. The Deacon makes one last attempt to catch Enola, but the Mariner recovers her as old Gregor is able to figure out her tattoo, and the Deacon is killed. Her tattoo is actually an upside-down compass, and close on Helen and Enola finding new life on dry land, revealed in some cuts to be South Dakota as Mariner returns to sea. Though this film opened at number 1 upon its release on July 28, 1995, the film's production caused less favorable word of mouth to spread, and the film only made $88,246,220 in its domestic run. Decent numbers for a modestly budgeted romantic comedy, only about half a $165 million tentpole blockbuster at best. That said, it did make its money back overseas over time. International earnings were accruing the budget at $254 million worldwide, and proving quite successful in the home viewing formats. So, is it as infamous disappointment as others say? Well, yes and no. Admittedly, the characterization is pretty basic, but the plot is as advertised. Take Mad Max, replace the vast desert with the vast ocean, you have this movie in a nutshell. The visual creativity of the film is also pretty underappreciated, and with the $200 million spent on Titanic 2 years later, larger budgets became less the exception, more the rule in following decades. It's, in short, well, not the best one I've ever seen reviewed, it's far from the worst. I just have a problem seeing through it if I'm not doing it through 135 minutes. Final rating is 2.5 stars out of 4. That was an interesting topic. I'm glad I finally got a chance to address before I go back to even rougher waters later.